Abraham, I would say this, and I remember I asked you again that, well, just a couple of stocks are the ones that are really dominating our rally this year, especially when it comes to what has been a perceived recovery within the COVID-19 pandemic. Let me start from there. Has our market recovered?
Before we go there,
yes.
You see, this is symptomatic of a problem that has been sitting there for a while. Our counters have concentrated on very, very, very few counters.
Yes.
That is the boss. We have very few counters. So and you can see what is happening. When the market is hit at a macro level, the concentration of growth boils down to three.
Yes.
To three counters. Now, talking about going back to your question, how have we recovered? If we want to use this as an indicator, this is a very poor indicator of whether the market has grown, because you have chosen three stocks that have been favored by what is happening.
Yes.
So that cannot be an indicator of whether there has been recovery or not, because if you look at alcohol, cigarettes, and then telephony, those are the three sectors. Those are the three sectors that those three counters cover.
Yes.
Those are the three main, I would say, consumption products and services that went up during this period.
Yes.
And driven by the fact that there was a restriction on them.
Yes.
There was restriction on alcohol consumption based on the times that you're supposed to sit there. BAT has lived in that regime for quite a while now. And then last but not least, Safaricom. Safaricom has, especially on the data business and M-Pesa, they thrived.
Yes.
Because of what was happening. So these three counters actually have made hay while the sun was shining. And I think the sun is still shining.
Yes.
So to use this as an indicator of whether we've recovered or not, I think it's a very poor indicator. I think it cannot tell us that story. All it can say is that there are people who made money while others were losing money. They made money because people because of being restricted, probably consume more alcohol and consume more cigarettes and consume a lot of data and call each other a lot. That's what probably this says.
Yes.
And for them, they carry the day. But even if you look at, even if you go to the specifics, as much as they've shown profitability, it is still lower than. It's not an upward trajectory. They probably have either dipped or have remained flat. But it is better than the other people, because if you look at now, if you go to the financial sector, most of them have given profit warnings. So it's a different. So if you look at that sector, it tells a very different story from this one.
Yes.
So for us to answer whether the market has recovered, I think we need to go wider and we need to do more research in terms of sector by sector by sector by sector, and then now do a global sum.
Pretty much. Let me cross over to you, Arnold Gasale, this morning as well. Do you share the same sentiment by Abraham by saying, wow, you can't look at those three and then say, wow, we might be in the recovery phase right now? Do you share the same sentiment?
Yeah, thank you so much, Simba. I pretty much share the same sentiment, simply because you're looking at three counters against 66 other counters on the NSC.
Yes.
So if this is one of those situations whereby if you use the mean rate, you will not get actually accurate data. And if you look at all the three counters which have been mentioned, counter number one, Safaricom, of course, have made a lot of money because of the shift to cashless transactions, which was adopted last year because of COVID-19. And then, of course, BAT, if you look at their gross position, they actually made less, but their net position was high. I think they somehow managed to manage their cost, but at the same time, they're dealing with an inelastic product. Cigarettes are inelastic regardless of the price change. Also, EABL, I think for EABL, for them, the reason as to why they made cash was because of they have a regional presence, and they sort of made more money in the regional markets as compared to the Kenyan market. So generally speaking, it's not a proper barometer to measure economic growth or essentially measure the performance of the NSC.
Yes.